So what you're looking at here are two competing visions for the future of digital design. And this is really a story of aesthetics versus usability, a clash that has, believe it or not, fundamentally shaped the look and feel of every single screen we use. Here's a great way to think about it. Core design principles, things like hierarchy and contrast, they're like the grammar of a language. They just don't change. But design trends? Well, they're the popular novels written with that grammar. The stories change all the time, but the rules that make them readable, those always stay the same. And just like popular novels, boy, have design styles evolved. We went from interfaces that looked just like real-world objects, that's skeuomorphism, to super minimalist flat design, and then to Google's very structured material design. And that whole journey brings us right to today's battleground, neomorphism versus glassmorphism. All right, first up is our challenger, neomorphism. Back around 2020, this new style just kind of popped up, and it promised this futuristic, incredibly soft new look for all our interfaces. The name itself is actually a mashup of new skeuomorphism, and that gives you a pretty big hint at what it does. It's all about this really subtle illusion. Instead of elements sitting on the background, they look like they're being pushed out from it, or kind of pressed into it, almost like a soft piece of plastic. And the magic trick behind it all is surprisingly simple. You make the object and the background the exact same color. Then you just add a light shadow on one corner and a dark shadow on the opposite corner. That's it. That clever little play of light and shadow creates the entire illusion of depth. And you can totally see why designers got so excited about this, right? It looked brand new, it felt elegant, clean, and it was a completely different vibe from the flat designs that had been everywhere for years. It was a whisper, not a shout. But, and this is a huge but, that beautiful, clean aesthetic came at a massive cost. And this brings us to the dramatic turn in our story, the moment where style crashed head-on with substance. Because every single element was the same color as the background, only separated by these tiny, subtle shadows, it created a huge problem. As a user, you were left asking this really fundamental question. When everything looks like a soft bump, how in the world do I know what's a button and what's just decoration? And this gets to the absolute heart of the problem. Neomorphism's biggest flaw wasn't just that it was confusing, it was a complete and total accessibility disaster. Its core aesthetic made it fundamentally unusable for a huge number of people. It ultimately came down to this trifecta of problems. The incredibly low contrast made elements practically invisible for users with visual impairments. The usability was confusing for pretty much everyone. And to top it all off, it was surprisingly difficult to code consistently. It was, well, kind of doomed from the start. But as the soft UI failed, another trend was rising to take its place. So let's take a look at how glassmorphism learned from these mistakes and ultimately succeeded. Just like the name suggests, glassmorphism is all about making interface elements look like pieces of frosted glass. You've definitely seen this. Think of the control center on your iPhone or the start menu in Windows. It's a style built on transparency, blur, and a really clear sense of depth. Its success comes from a few key ingredients working together in harmony. The transparency and the background blur create that frosted glass look. And that immediately sets up a multi-layered hierarchy, so you can clearly see what's in front and what's behind. This effect really pops on vibrant backgrounds, and it's often finished off with a thin little border to define the edges. But hey, glassmorphism isn't perfect. It comes with its own set of challenges, and if designers aren't careful, they can fall into the very same traps that doomed neomorphism. The biggest risk? Readability. You can see right here how a simple background keeps the text perfectly clear. But place that same panel over a busy, complicated background without enough blur, and the text on top can become a jumbled, unreadable mess. So, what's the moral of this whole story? It's not really about crowning a winner. It's about understanding how to use any design trend wisely. It really all boils down to this. Neomorphism failed because it violated the timeless foundations of good design. It had low contrast and a super ambiguous hierarchy. Glassmorphism succeeded because, when it's done right, it actually enhances those foundations, creating a clear hierarchy while staying accessible. So before you jump on the next big thing, you gotta ask yourself these three critical questions. Why are you using it? For whom are you designing? And how does it actually interact with the fundamental rules of good design? Don't let a trend's popularity blind you to its purpose. And of course, the landscape never ever stands still. New trends are always popping up, from the raw, intentional ugliness of brutalism to the soft 3D look of claymorphism, and even styles that make huge, bold topography the absolute star of the show. And this leaves us with one final, provocative question. We know the next big trend is just around the corner, but when it arrives, will we have learned the lesson from neomorphism's fall? Will we remember the critical difference between a fleeting style and timeless substance?